Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where we recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and it's the 28th of February 2024. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So before we kick off today's episode, just a couple of housekeeping items. First one is apologies for the rug fuel yesterday. Back today though, of course, hopefully with a longer episode. There shouldn't be any other rug fuels this week, but we'll see. I'm going to a meetup tomorrow, as you guys know, tomorrow night at Upside, which is a co-working space. So I think I'm going to record the refuel earlier so that, it's not rug tomorrow. So if there is a rug, that's why, but there hopefully won't be. So yeah, let's see how we go there. The second thing is that you may notice if you're watching the YouTube video that I have a different kind of setup going on. Like the camera angle is different. I'm not sitting down, I'm standing up. And the reason is because I recently converted my desk into a standing desk. And I've done this because I've had a lot of neck and back issues for like 8 months now, like pretty constant pain. And it was really bad. Like I went to multiple osteopaths to see what the actual issue was, and done a lot of great work there. But the issue just kept coming back, and I kept wondering what it was. I was trying a lot of different things, and my desk, how it's set up, was actually quite hard to turn into a standing desk because I didn't want to get rid of the desk that I have. I love the desk that I have, but I bought a bunch of other things to kind of convert it into a standing desk, and now it is a standing desk, and I've just basically been standing all the time instead of sitting. And within like 2 days of doing that, all of my issues seem to have gone away with my back and neck. So what would happen is I get like really bad tension headaches, and it was just excruciating. Especially it would happen like earlier in the day and then dissipate over time. But I got my most energy early in the day, so I want to be able to like do stuff, but it was just debilitating. And as I said, it's been going on for quite a while, but it seems like it was because I was just sitting down too much. I mean, I've been sitting at a computer for a long time. I mean, my whole life's revolved around computers for a very long time now. I'm going to have to say the better part of 17 years since I started playing World of Warcraft all those years ago into basically making it my career, not just with crypto, but before I was into crypto. But anyway, enough rambling about my personal issues there, but this will be the view that you see going forward on the video, just me standing up. I mean, it's really kind of a similar view. You've got like my figurines behind me, of course. I'm just like standing up instead of sitting down. It's not that different, but I figured I'd address it because people are probably going to ask, why is the view different? And the reason it's kind of standing as well. I'm going to be standing all the time is because I actually have like a walking pad underneath me too. So like a walking treadmill underneath the desk. And I'm not going to pull that out every time I want to like sit at my desk and then pull everything back, push all the monitors and keyboard and mouse down. I'm not going to bother with that. So I'm just going to stand up all the time, which is fine. I mean, it's better for my back, obviously, and walking on the treadmill gets my steps in while I'm at my desk. But anyway, enough about that. Let's move on to the news that I've missed covering over the last couple of days. So first off, as you guys know, Dencun is around the corner. Well, the official kind of mainnet announcement from the Ethereum Foundation blog came out yesterday. You can check it out here. Really, all this is just a blog post that kind of lists what Dencun is, what it brings with it, what the features are, what the EIPs are, and links to the client releases so that you can update your node. So if you are running a full node or are you running full node with validators attached to it, to keep in mind you do have to update by March 13th. And you also, if you're running MEV Boost, remember that you need to update that as well, or else you will stand to kind of miss blocks if you're running an old MEV Boost version. And I'm pretty sure they've released a new version of that too, but I don't know if it's linked in this blog post here. I didn't see it here, but yeah, I mean 95% or something of the network uses MEV Boost, so you definitely want to make sure to upgrade that there. But yeah, guys, like it's so close now, Dencun. I mean, March 13th is around the corner, and I think that it's going to be a smooth upgrade. It seems like there hasn't really been any bugs on the test nets. I think Nimbus had a small kind of client-side bug on the Housekeeping testnet, I believe, that they fixed. So yeah, other than that, I haven't really seen anything else. So it seems like blobs have been going well, and I can't wait to see this finally on mainnet. But you can go check out the blog post for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, and just actually before I move on from the Dencun stuff, there is going to be a live stream on March 13th at 1300 UTC, or starting at 1300 UTC, which is 1 p.m. UTC. I think that's like midnight my time, so midnight Australian Eastern Standard Time, which is like early morning US and afternoon Europe time, if I'm doing my calculations right in my head there. So this live stream is going to be co-hosted by yours truly and ETH Staker, along with ETH Cat Herders as well. So it's going to be a fun stream. We're going to see Dencun go live on the network. in real time, and then we're going to see what happens with the blobs. I'm curious to see if like the blobs are used straight away. Like, are we going to see like an inscription mint straight away, or are we going to see some of these rollups using blobs straight away to store their data? Like, I'm very curious to see what's going to happen there, and I'm glad we all get to kind of watch this live as it happens. So as I said, this live stream will be happening March 13th at 1 p.m. UTC. You can do the time conversion to your own time zone on your own, or you can go to the YouTube channel here and just like, it'll tell you in your local time when this will be going live, so you can go check that out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, so Mike Nutter has a new fresh ETH research post out. This time he teamed up with Tarun Chitra here, who you guys may know. He's a researcher within the kind of Ethereum crypto ecosystem. He's been around for quite a while now, but Mike's on fire. I mean, he keeps publishing these ETH research posts, and I think he might have a couple more left in him, I've heard on the grapevine there, but I don't know how he has the time to put these up. I don't even have the time to read these. Like, a couple of them are still in my backlog in my Chrome tabs. But this one's all about the risks of LRTs, or as they're known as liquid restaking tokens. So this is a relatively new thing, obviously, that has come with the advent of restaking on Ethereum. And obviously, the most popular liquid restaking tokens today are ETHify, Puffer, and Swell, I believe, are the top three. There are a few others out there that are up and coming, like I think there's CalpDAO and Renzo, and there's a few other ones. There's so many of these things now, and I think that all of the LSTs are pretty much going to convert to LRTs. I think that eventually Lido is probably going to do it as well, obviously being the biggest there. The one that probably won't is like CB ETH or Coinbase ETH. I feel like for them, it's a regulatory thing, but we'll have to see. Maybe they will do that. But obviously, these LRTs carry a lot of risk with them, because restaking carries a lot of risk with it that is underexplored or unexplored, because restaking is a new primitive, has not been around for very long, and also none of the kind of, I guess, like eigenlayer products are live yet. Like, restaking as a primitive, I mean, it's technically not even live, because really what you're doing when you put the token into Eigenlayer or into like Eigenlayer's contracts is you're just basically putting ETH there as a placeholder. That ETH is not being used to secure any of the Eigenlayer AVSs, because none of them are live yet. Eigenlayer as a product is not live yet. So really all you're doing is putting your ETH in there, obviously farming points and airdrops and all that sort of stuff. I mean, there's obviously nothing wrong with that, but it's not actually really at risk. Besides there being smart contract risks, obviously, there can be bugs in smart contracts. There's no risk right now because Eigenlayer is not live, no AVSs are live. But obviously when they do go live, that's when a lot of these things start to come to the forefront. All of these risks start to come to the forefront. And that's exactly what Mike and Tarun have done in this post, is basically highlight those risks as they see them and try to address them in various different ways, and try to address how the risk could play out, how it can be mitigated, so on and so forth. And there's a lot here. It's quite a dense post. I'll link it in the YouTube description for you guys to check out. But I think that Eigenlayer still remains one of the most least understood things, or primitives, or restaking generally primitives on Ethereum, because I've seen like a lot of people talk about even like the basic things and get it wrong. So for example, I've seen a few people say that they think that validators, Ethereum validators, are going to be modified in some way to be an Eigenlayer kind of like AVS operator. That's not how it works at all. So really, when it comes to what you're actually giving Eigenlayer, you're giving them the economic security of ETH. You're not giving Eigenlayer your validator security. So an Ethereum validator, so like a Lighthouse validator or a Prism validator, those things are not going to be the things that are securing the AVSs, the Ethereum instance of those validators. Now, yes, those things could be forked. That software can be forked. Like the Lighthouse client can be forked and be modified to run an Eigenlayer AVS. But if you're running an Ethereum validator, you have a very specific instance of that software, and that software is just being an Ethereum validator. It is not being repurposed as an Eigenlayer AVS node operator, whatever you want to call it. Now, this confusion is because of the fact that if you're a node operator on Ethereum, like I am, obviously I run full nodes, I run validators, and I want to become an operator on the Eigenlayer, on Eigenlayer AVS, I can do that. But at the same time, I don't actually have to restake any of my own ETH. What I can do is I can spin up the software, and then people can delegate essentially their restaked ETH to me. And then I can be a node operator of an AVS, while that exists separately to being a node operator of the Ethereum network. The Ethereum validator is not being used within the Eigenlayer. And because of that confusion, people seem to come up with all these esoteric risks that aren't actually risks. Really, at the end of the day, I think the biggest risk of not an LRT, because an LRT carries additional risks with it, because obviously it's like a receipt token essentially, and there's a whole bunch of things that go into that. But like with restaking itself, the biggest risk to Ethereum, the network, I foresee is something massively blowing up, and then a lot of stake having to be withdrawn from the Ethereum network at once, basically. And which means that you're going to see a lot of, you're not going to see a death spiral, but what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of, I guess, like depegging of these LSTs and LRTs, which would result in more ETH being taken out of the beacon chain in order to arbitrage that, and people panicking and so on and so forth. I think that's going to happen regardless of restaking or not. I think that's just going to happen because of a deleveraging event at some point in the future. Obviously, the markets are getting really, really hot right now. And I mean, we all know how that ends, honestly. Like, I feel like people have already forgotten how that ends. It always ends the same way. Things blow up, basically. And that's a cleansing that we have to go through. Anytime you go up really, really fast, there's lots of leverage that gets built up, and then you have deleveraging events that has all kinds of, I guess, things happening here and there that you may not anticipate. I guess this post is trying to address those things, or at least some of those things, and trying to build off of that. But yeah, there's no kind of like risk to an Ethereum validator itself, because an Ethereum validator is not an eigenlayer validator, so to speak, right? I mean, I know that's not the exact right terminology, but that's just not how it works. Again, like, you can't get slashed on Ethereum either if you get slashed on eigenlayer, because to get slashed on Ethereum, you have to actually break the rules of the Ethereum protocol using your validator, such as double signing, right? Such as doing a surround vote, things like that. You do not get slashed because some eigenlayer AVS that you're, I guess, like running a node for, which is separate to your Ethereum validator, right? Which is could be an eigenlayer validator, gets slashed. No, that's just not how it works. And I think that more people need to understand how eigenlayer actually works before trying to assess the risks of it. Because if you think that it works one way when it works a completely different way, you're just going to run around in circles with yourself, and then you're going to come up with all these kind of risks that aren't actually risks. But enough of that little rant there. You can go check out Mike and Tarun's post. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. They do a much better job of explaining this stuff than I do, specifically around the actual liquid restaking tokens themselves. And yeah, I'll post this in the YouTube description below for you to check out. All right, staying on the topic of staking for now, there is an Obol roadmap that has been published in the flavor of Vitalik's Ethereum roadmap. So you can see here that Ashin from the Obol network team has posted this diagram on Twitter with a bunch of different names, such as for each kind of like roadmap item here. So obviously with Ethereum, we have like the Verge, the Surge, the Verge, and so on and so forth. Well, Obol has the keys, the crown, the blocks, the blame, the base, the lab. Okay, obviously none of that rhymes like it does with the Ethereum roadmap, but under each of these little headings here, you've got a bunch of different kind of milestones that the Obol team obviously wants to meet when it comes to distributed validator technology. Now, of course, if you want to check out more details about this and see a better high-resolution image, you can go to the blog post, which I'll link in the YouTube description below. But there is a lot here, guys. Like, you may think that DVT is relatively simple in that, like, it allows you to basically stake using multiple instances of the same validator, and that adds redundancy and potentially extra security and things like that, and obviously enables things like squad staking, as I've discussed before. But it goes way beyond that, and you can actually find out why and how it goes way beyond that by checking out this blog post, which of course, as I said, I'll link in the YouTube description below. But it's great to see this, because I think when it comes to designing Obol and DVT generally, it's going to follow pretty closely with kind of the Ethereum staking kind of design roadmap, like any changes that happen to Ethereum staking, such as ePBS, right? That's the stuff that Obol is going to be following along with, and inclusion lists and things like that. But they're also going to be doing their own things and their own improvements to their own network, because Obol is not just kind of like a feature that gets added onto staking. It is a whole protocol in of itself, and they have a lot of roadmap items here that they want to kind of like execute on. So yeah, you can go check out this. They've codenamed it Obol 2.0 actually as well. So you can go check this out. I'll link this in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, so Armog here has tweeted out that it is the first anniversary of the Rhino Review Ethereum Staking Journal. Now, I remember I highlighted this newsletter back a year ago now, probably like from the day that it was first published, and I remember saying that it is still the #1 resource for keeping up with everything happening within the Ethereum staking ecosystem. So congrats to Armog and team and anyone working on this with him or helping him with this on 1 year. It's great to see that you've stuck with it. I know that it can can be kind of challenging at times to stick with things like this, especially when you're kind of aggregating things together and it becomes a bit tedious because you have to go find all the relevant information, the links and stuff. I mean, I've done it before. I did it as the block by block newsletter in 2018, which then became the ETH newsletter, which then became, I guess, like into the ETH podcast, which has become like the Daily Gwei now. So I understand kind of how mentally exhausting it can be and how many things there are to keep on top of. But kudos to you guys for keeping on top of this and for you guys to putting this together. I think this is a great resource for the community. And if you aren't subscribed to this, guys, definitely go subscribe to it. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. But really, you could spend like a whole week on each of these newsletters just reading through everything linked here. There is so much happening in the Ethereum staking ecosystem. I really only scratched the surface of it on the Refuel. There's just so much. I mean, look at this. Look at this, guys. I'm just scrolling through the newsletter. Look at all these links that are in here. And each of these links are a post in of themselves. I mean, you've even got things like UPS recommendations. So a UPS is an uninterruptible power supply, which I got a few of them on my setup, where basically it's a battery backup essentially. So if your power goes out, you can connect your validators or connect your hardware that runs your validators to it, and then you'll have it can stay alive, for a little while. It's not gonna. It depends on the size of the battery. Mine can stay alive for up to I think half an hour or something, but it's good for things like brownouts, obviously, and it's good for like short blackouts and stuff like that. But yeah, they've even got links to stuff like that. So it's stuff that you just won't see anywhere else is in this newsletter. So once again, congrats to Amog and anyone else who works on this with him. It's been great to watch this evolve over the last year, and here's to another year of the Rhino review newsletter. All right, an update from CowSwap today. So they say here, CowSwap's top priority is to protect users from bad outcomes. That's why we just made the swap confirmation model easier to understand with updated designs for sell and receive amounts, quote refresh time, fee breakdown, transaction expiry time, and happy swapping. Now, you may be wondering why I'm highlighting such a, I don't know if you'd call it like little update or boring update, but the reason I'm highlighting it is because I think it isn't actually a little update or a boring update. I think that things like this can have a really, really large impact because obviously it's really easy to get scammed in crypto. People get scammed all the time. There's so many different ways to get scammed. Even if you're super experienced, you can get scammed or phished. I am the best example of that. Someone who's been in this ecosystem for ages, dodged everything until I got phished in the dumbest way by losing my OP tokens a few months ago, which have since gone up in value a lot, which hurts even more, of course. But hey, it was an expensive lesson, and I learned that lesson. But regardless of that, why I think this is a big deal, or something that's worth highlighting, is that you want to basically tell the user in plain English what they're doing with their transaction. And this has been something that we've been trying to improve upon for a while now. Obviously, MetaMask is making their own improvements in a slow and steady way, I would say. But for the longest time, it would just be random gibberish that you would read when you're signing a transaction. You wouldn't even know anything about what you're signing. You'd just be basically saying, okay, well, hope for the best, really. And a lot of people get phished this way. But when you have modals like this that pop up and tell you exactly what you're doing and what you're going to do, what you're, things like what the fees are, what you're expected to receive, so on and so forth, you feel a lot more comfortable doing the action that you're doing on chain, and you have a lot more you have better guarantees around it. Now, of course, this isn't 100% guarantee. Phishing websites can just spoof this, obviously, right? And they can just tell you whatever they want. Whatever's going to happen, whatever they're trying to kind of like send here. But at the same time, that's where it comes in at the wallet level as well. So for example, Rabby, I've mentioned Rabby before, the wallet, which doesn't have an iOS app, by the way. There were people that got scammed because someone got a fake Rabby iOS wallet app into the App Store, which is just insane. And they were downloading it and they got drained. Rabby only has a desktop extension and a Android app right now. So please don't download it on iOS, anything claiming to be Rabby. They do not have an official app out yet, as far as I know. I mean, obviously, always check their official socials for updated information on that, but please don't get scammed that way. It's just horrible way to get scammed. But regardless of that, Rabby as a wallet is kick-ass. It will warn you straight away if you're doing something that it thinks is dodgy, and it uses a bunch of heuristics to tell you if it's dodgy or not. Such an example being like, hey, you're interacting with this smart contract that no one else has interacted with. And if you say, if for example, you're doing like a Uniswap trade, and then you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, there's no way I'm the first person to interact with this contract. Like, that's just not going to happen, because of the fact that even if it's a brand new Uniswap market, the first interaction of that contract will be an MEV bot, because they obviously want to try and extract value from it. So you will never be the first interaction on one of those things. So that's an obvious red flag. So Rabbi throws that up and is like, hey, do you really want to do this? This doesn't look good. And there's a bunch of other stuff as well. It's like, hey, you haven't interacted with this contract before, so on and so forth. And then even for simple things like sending funds, they've got like a whitelist. So if you, for example, fall for one of those address poisoning attacks, where essentially what happens is that, or if you go to like Etherscan and you sometimes see that someone has sent a small amount of ETH to your address using an address that looks like one of your addresses. Now, it's not your address, it just looks like yours, and it's actually relatively easy to generate these things, and people have done this, and this has happened to me as well. But the scam is basically that they're trying to trick you into copy pasting that address, thinking that it's your own instead of your own address. Now, if you did this, if you copy pasted their address and put it into Rabbi, Rabbi's going to straight away tell you, hey, this isn't on your whitelist, because your other one is on your whitelist. I mean, obviously you have to add it to it, but your real one is on your whitelist. But Rabbi's straight up going to tell you, hey, this isn't an address on your whitelist, and then you'll obviously see and be like, oh wait, this is my address, this should be on the whitelist, and then you obviously do a double take there and save yourself. So I mean, I've had plenty of people DM me, tell me in the Daily Gwei Discord channel that they've saved their own ass a million times by using Rabbi, a lot of times by using Rabbi. Without Rabbi, they probably would have gotten fished. So it's great to see that it's having real impact there. But that brings me back to what I was saying about kind of CowSwap's feature here, is that anything that can just illuminate things better for the user is something that we should be encouraging. It's something that we should be telling people about, and something that we should be encouraging other projects to do as well, because at the end of the day, the only way we're going to protect people, or most people, from scams and being phished is by giving them the most information as we can, without overloading them, of course, displaying it to them in a really simple way, but by doing that, we essentially get to make sure that they're having a safe on-chain experience. All right, speaking of wallet extensions and wallets generally, Uniswap has released their Uniswap extension. So they say here, this is the first wallet to live in your browser's sidebar. No more pop-ups, no more transaction windows. The wait list opens today. So as you guys know, Uniswap has a mobile wallet app. Now they have an extension that basically sits on the side of what you do, of your kind of like web browser here, as you can see in the video. And you can do all the same things that you can do in pretty much every other wallet. But I guess for them, the logic is that they want you to click this big swap button here, which they collect a fee from. They have a fee that's on top of it, like MetaMask has a fee with their swap feature there. But yeah, I mean, I watched the video. The extension looks quite cool, looks quite nice, quite clean here. But it's not available to the public yet. I think there's just a wait list. So you can go check out the thread for more information about this and a link to it. Please only click the link in this thread that I'll link in the YouTube description below. Do not go Googling for it or searching for it yourself. That's another quick way to get phished, obviously. And as far as I know, the extension is not out yet. It is coming soon, and users with a uni.eth username will get priority access. So if you've got a uni.eth username, be sure to sign up using that when you're joining the waitlist here. But kudos to Uniswap for getting this out there. Just another way for people to get on-chain and start using on-chain products. All right, so Dan Romero shared something on Twitter today about Farcaster. Kind of funny whenever Dan shares something about Farcaster on Twitter. It's just kind of like going into I guess like a Trojan horse, basically, of, hey, we're trying to build like, I don't know if I'd call Farcaster a Twitter killer, but we're trying to build a competitor here, and we're advertising it on Twitter. I always thought that was kind of funny. But what he shared today is that you can now build an entire storefront in a Farcaster frame with Coinbase Commerce, and Shopify integration is actually coming soon. So you can see here in the screenshot that you can set up your frame shop in less than 5 minutes. All you have to do is add the name of your store, add your products, input your Coinbase Commerce API key with Shopify coming soon, and start selling. It's 100% free, no charges and no fees. So what this basically means is that these frames will pop up in your Farcaster feed, in people's Farcaster feeds, and then your products will be there. And these could be physical or digital products, of course. And then immediately they can just buy it. They can just click buy, or they can just kind of browse through it in frame without them having to click off into a separate website, without them having to click off a Farcaster at all. They've just got that in their newsfeed here, which is awesome. I mean, that's another thing that's uniquely enabled by having crypto integration here, or crypto native integration here, because you get to basically pay with crypto via Coinbase Commerce, pay with ETH, pay with a stable coin, right? Pay with USDC or whatever stable coin you want to pay with, which is obviously the kind of end game of what we're building here. We're trying to build a circular economy within crypto. If we always rely on just having like a fiat on and off ramp and not having a circular economy, then crypto is never going to replace the financial system. But we are getting to that point. We're getting closer and closer every day to that point of having a totally circular financial system where essentially you can get paid in crypto and then you can do everything like on chain. Basically, you can do your shopping, your physical goods shopping on chain. You can do, pay your bills on chain, and maybe eventually you do all that from just like Farcaster, right? How amazing would that be? And then eventually, it's not going to happen for a while, but eventually you'd be able to pay your taxes in crypto. I know some countries are already doing this. I don't know which ones off the top of my head, but I guess like for a lot of the people listening in, you probably live in one of the countries that don't do this, like the US and Western Europe and me in Australia, of course. But imagine one day you're just able to pay for your taxes via a Farcaster frame. Like how hilarious is that? Like just thinking about it is funny, but like that would be really cool. I don't know. I know that paying taxes isn't exactly cool, and I'm not saying it is, but we all have to do it. I mean, not all of us. Some of us are lucky enough to live in countries that don't have tax on crypto, but I've always wanted to kind of like be able to pay my taxes in crypto because it's just an easier accounting thing. Like imagine just going and being like, okay, I'm just going to pay my tax in ETH this year. Like that'd be really cool. But obviously a lot of work to be done there to get that enabled at the nation state level. And they maybe they don't even want to do it because it kind of weakens their dollar, right? I mean, even if it gets converted to dollars, it weakens their kind of fiat, I should say, or their sovereign currency. So even if it gets converted to that currency in the background, like if you replace your currency in your economy with another currency as the like MOU, the medium of exchange, right, the unit of account, then you're weakening your own kind of currency. And some countries do this on purpose. Like for example, some countries just want to have USD as their currency, right? So they basically either devalue their own currency or they do like a swap, or they kind of just they kill it. So I mean, this happens in Europe a lot. Like obviously the most recent one I can think of is, there's probably more recent than this, but I think of this because my background's Italian, is the Italian lira that got sunset essentially for euros, right? And so it started a lot of European kind of currencies there, and this happens all the time. But those are all those are all sovereign, or I guess at least kind of like nation state backed kind of currencies. Whereas ETH isn't, BTC isn't, right? So, a lot of other ones aren't within crypto. Not that they're going to be money or anything like that, but like we're just talking about BTC and ETH. That's how I kind of think about it there. But that's a discussion, I guess, for another time. I don't want to ramble on about tax related things there, but just great to see that this integration is live on Farcaster and coming soon with Shopify integration. Obviously, you guys know Shopify is a huge, I guess, like digital kind of storefront. Storefront as a service service, I guess you could say. So yeah, anyway, you can go check that out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, finally here, just a little bit of another mini bullish rant. And I put this cast out on Farcaster yesterday where I said there is now $100 billion worth of ETH staked on the Beacon chain. And this represents 26% of the current total ETH supply. So how crazy is that, guys? Like, I think I spoke about this maybe last week or the week before, but the fact that only 26% of the current total ETH supply is staked, and that is $100 billion worth, is just utterly insane. Because that means, I mean, obviously the total ETH market cap at time of recording right now is 400 billion, right? It's 400 billion. ETH price is, let me check, 33.20-ish right now, which just feels crazy saying that. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I think ETH was at $2,500, but such is the nature of bull markets, right? But the whole point of me kind of bringing this up is that, one, if ETH goes like another 5x from here and no more ETH goes in, I shouldn't say if, I should say when ETH goes another 5x from here, if no new ETH gets staked, which is obviously like not going to happen, there's going to be more ETH that gets staked, but if no new ETH gets staked, this just quickly becomes $500 billion, right? I was $500 billion worth of ETH staked on the Beacon chain, securing Ethereum, the network, right? $500 billion. Like, just think about that for a sec, right? Now, let's just say that ETH goes 5x and then the total ETH staked goes to 50%. That's $1 trillion of ETH staked, That's $1 trillion, guys, of just ETH stake. That's just crazy. Like when you actually think about it, that's just absolutely insane. When you really break it down, like how much value that actually is there securing the Ethereum network. Now, I know in the past I've said that there is kind of like a diminishing returns to the economic security aspect of things, and it's obviously more about node operators and unique node operators than economic security. But still, like that is an absolutely massive amount of value, kind of securing that existing kind of pool of validators there, and that existing, I guess, like Ethereum network that we have and that we love and that we use every day, which is just crazy. Now, of course, like when people talk about like, okay, well, there's all that economic security there. Like, how is anyone ever going to be able to like attack the network through that? Well, they're not. That's the whole point. The whole point of making it so costly to attack is that it's too costly to attack, and that not even nation states will try because it would cost them too much money to do. So then you kind of go down the curve of, okay, well, where would they target next? I still believe that the easiest way to, I wouldn't say kill these networks, but to basically alter them to your will, so to bend them to your will. So let's say you're a nation state, say you're the US, and you want to bend Ethereum to your will. The easiest way for you to do that is to infiltrate the social layer. And what you would do is you'd have like a plant or a couple of plants enter the ecosystem. Now, they may seem harmless or value add at the beginning, and they may seem like people that are doing a lot for the ecosystem, and they may seem like completely friendly people that you don't suspect at all. But then slowly over time, they don't do it obviously, but slowly over time, they'll start seeding different ideas based on what the US government wants to see, or based on what the US intelligence apparatus wants to see. And then that slowly becomes kind of consensus if they play it right. And then it ends up going into the network, or something ends up happening with the network, or maybe there's indecision. Maybe you kind of make it so that governance can't actually move forward because there's just so much infighting going on. And this is not like me putting my tinfoil hat on. The CIA actually has a legit playbook about this, like how to infiltrate groups. And I think the playbook is centered around political groups, or I guess like different kind of factions that kind of form around different movements. But the same, I mean, it applies to Ethereum. Ethereum is a movement, right? Ethereum isn't just like a technology, it's a movement. It's a movement for creating a decentralized world, essentially, right? Creating a decentralized financial system, a new social coordination mechanism. So the easiest way, and I say easy, I mean, this wouldn't be easy, it's obviously very difficult, but the easiest way to attack Ethereum network is not to go the economic security route, because obviously that's super expensive and you wouldn't even succeed at doing it anyway, because we could just recover from any attack. And you would see the attack happening just the way the Ethereum proof of stake mechanism actually works, right? Because there's the entry queue and all that stuff. But yeah, the easiest way would be to go for the social layer. It would take a while. It's not easy, but it's easier than the other kind of ways here. And then, yeah, you just basically grind it to a halt. And there are some people out there saying this is what happened to Bitcoin, which I don't really buy into. But people say, oh, well, you know, Bitcoin was infected, and that's why we have like these Bitcoin maxis who think that Bitcoin shouldn't change and evolve, and by doing that it kind of like hampered Bitcoin's adoption, which, I mean, you could argue it did as I guess money. Like, no one uses BTC as a currency, right? Like, okay, it has monetary properties, it has a lot of moneyness to it, but no one is using their BTC to buy coffee. I mean, not at any scale. Maybe they're doing it sometimes at a smaller scale here, and then people say, oh well, they hampered Bitcoin because the Lightning Network sucks, but they managed to convince everyone that it doesn't suck. Like, I don't buy into these conspiracy theories personally, but like some people do, right? And the crazy thing about these is that they could actually be true, right? And you may think it's insane, and that's maybe exactly what the people that did this want you to think. And now I'm getting into like full-blown tinfoil hat territory. But as I said, guys, this is not something that is unfathomable to happen. There is a playbook that the CIA wrote. We know that the US intelligence apparatus is vast. We know that they have access to an unlimited budget. I mean, the US military budget is $1 trillion on the books. Who knows what else it is? Like, potentially off the books, right? Or who knows like what projects they've been working on for years now, and who knows what they've been able to unlock. You know, they may be sitting on a zero day that could drain the Ethereum deposit contract, for example, right? Like for staking, who knows, right? So I think when it comes to nation states and what comes to what Ethereum is being built to resist, you should never underestimate them. Obviously, the bigger ones you don't want to underestimate at all, and you should never underestimate the lengths that they'll go to infiltrate a movement and to infiltrate something that they regard to be a threat to their power. And I think that with Ethereum, we're really well positioned to defend against this, but at the same time, the weakest link is always people. Infiltrating the social layer is always an option for these groups, and it could happen without us even realizing it. That's the scary thing. So always good to keep on your toes about that sort of stuff. But regardless of that, it's good to know that there's a lot of economic security backing ETH. But yeah, the social layer, unfortunately or fortunately, is always social. There is no kind of like, I mean, there's economics and monetary incentives at play, but at the heart of it, it's just humans, guys. Just humans and humans' emotions, and humans do silly things all the time, as we all know. But anyway, I think on that note, that's going to be it for today. Thank you everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.